Hey YouTube, right here. Um, Recently my videos have been fairly lighthearted and I've been trying to keep more of a positive attitude. And the thing is at this point something has been brought to my attention by a couple of people. I'm actually going to go ahead and link a video down in the low bar. So I really want you guys to go ahead, go and watch it. It's from the Rebel Media, but the thing is you can go ahead and hate the Rebel Media all you want. You can fully agree with them. I don't care. But at this point, something really tragic is happening over in the UK, and it still hasn't been resolved as far as I can find out. There was a woman that was actually gang raped. Multiple witnesses that have come forward. In fact, one witness is being blatantly ignored. They're not even taking statements from the witness. And they ran rape kits on her. She had to go ahead and get treatment for the injuries because they were so bad. Go ahead and watch the video. It explains everything. But the people who ended up gang raping her were a bunch of Syrian and Iraqi refugees. And this, unfortunately, is not a isolated incident. We've been hearing about this sort of shit popping up all over the place, wherever the refugees are. I'm not saying that all refugees do this, but the fact that this is something that has shown as a pattern, it needs to be addressed. And the thing is politicians and police agencies and prosecutors are too afraid of being called mean words that they're not actually doing their jobs. They're not actually seeking justice. They're actually covering for these people. They're ignoring evidence, destroying evidence. They're ignoring witnesses, discounting witnesses for no reason. They aren't pursuing convictions. They aren't punishing the people who are brought in for breaking bail. In fact, the men who were arrested, at least they had the balls to go that far, right? But the men who were arrested have been released on bail 3 times, and each time they have broken bail. And they have fled to what's called a safe house, which is basically it's basically the same thing as a sanctuary city, where they're not going to be convicted for their crimes because they're a quote-unquote protected class. And at this point, it's time for these governments to start stepping up or to move aside. Now, I'm going to say this, and my UK viewers may take some issue with it, but at this point, you know what? Fuck your feelings. You haven't been holding your government to account. Just like if someone says something about my country, I don't get pissed off at them because we haven't been holding our government to account. Not appropriately, anyway. And so I'm going to say this. Is it going to take people from the US having to come in and clean up another British mess? Is it? Really? Because we already proved that we have a much bigger pair back when we were your colonies. And guess what? They're still bigger. So the thing is at this point, I see one of 2 options. Either the UK go ahead and actually move to convict these men. There's more than enough evidence to convict at the very least one of them, even though they destroyed evidence from one because they said it was external. So they're saying that they can only use semen that is still inside of the woman for a conviction of gang rape. Well, I guess that means if guys are going to gang rape a woman, bring condoms, right? Because then there can't be a conviction. Well, as long as you're a refugee, right? This is the problem with a dual track system. It starts getting people talking about vigilante justice. And at this point, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't blame the people of that town marching into that area and just going absolute apeshit on anyone who even looks like a refugee. I wouldn't blame them. They have the right to that level of rage at this point. These people have been attacked. One of their women has actually been gang raped, brutally assaulted, and now the individuals responsible are not being held accountable. They are not being held to UK law. They are operating above the law at this point, with the full condoning of the local police, of the local prosecution, local judges, and local politicians. The reason why I want you to go ahead and go and watch that video, even if you don't go ahead and watch the video, there is a link for you to go ahead and sign up for. If you want to use a junk email to go ahead and do it because you don't want to subscribe to Rebel Media, by all means, go ahead and do that, but get your voice in there. I don't care if you're from the UK, if you're from China, if you're from Germany, if you're from Russia. I don't give a fuck where you are. This is the point where it needs to stop. This is where we need to turn that tide and we need to start rolling it back. This right here is the reason why people like me absolutely hate the social justice movement. The reason why people like me hate political correctness is because it allows people to use what they are to get away with heinous crimes. And one thing about me, I have lost multiple friends to suicide because of rape that was not convicted because of political reasons. I take this deadly seriously. So you're not going to see me laugh. You're not going to see me joke. This has me as pissed off as you're going to ever see me. Because if I'm ever any more pissed off than this, I'll be afraid to pick up my phone because I'll crush it in my hand. It's time to stand up. It's time to make our voices heard. Being the silent majority is not working. Share this video. Share the video in the low bar. I don't care how you get the word out. Share it with everyone that you fucking know. Feminists, leftists, alt-righters, it doesn't matter. Everyone should be just as appalled at this turn of events. At the very least, they should look into it themselves and try to figure out what's going on. But the fact that this hasn't been on mainstream media shows right there that these people are afraid. Because they are more than happy to sit there and, you know, show a white guy that, you know, molested a woman. If a group of white guys was to get together and gang rape a black woman or a refugee woman or whatever, it would be on the news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of that fucking year. And that's on the short end. People would be calling for those men's heads, not for them to be thrown in prison, but for them to be killed. And yet here we see radio fucking silence. Good on Rebel Media for fucking calling this shit out. That's the type of shit that gets me to watch alternative media, because the fact is they cover the stories that the mainstream media doesn't want to touch because their political correct overlords will pull funding. And I went ahead and I looked into it, and this is all over the place, except for the mainstream media. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit silent and think, oh, well, someone else will do it? Because remember, today it's her, but tomorrow it could be your sister, your daughter, your mother, your aunt, your best friend, your wife. And if you don't stand up today, then you have no claim to ask people to stand up when it happens to your family.